Hello, everybody. I want to start by giving a quick shout out thank you to the family. It was my birthday and they got me this awesome hat. So, toast time. So, I'm like official now. So, thank you, everybody, for all of your support and love with this adventure. So, this week we are going to be venturing into the world of quick breads, which means unlike the other breads where we have to wait for them to rise, punch them down, wait for them to rise again, these are quick breads. Just like muffins, you make the batter or the dough and they pretty much go in the oven right after. There's no wait time. So this week is biscuits. My husband is not afraid to go and talk to people. So we were at this restaurant out in California visiting my parents, and um, we went to breakfast, and this place had incredible biscuits. So my husband went to surprise me, and he went and got the chef and asked him about the biscuits. So we got a rough recipe. In the restaurant business, you make things in bulk. So he kind of tried to figure out in his head how much it would be for kind of a normal amount. So this is supposed to make 8 biscuits. So we're going to try and see how this goes. But I really hope if I can create something even close to it, it's going to be incredible. Okay. I also, for this week, went to the store and got the biscuits in a can kind of thing because I wanted to see the difference. I got the buttermilk biscuit variety because that's what I'm going to be making is buttermilk biscuits. So I just put them on here and I'm going to put them in right now so that they can bake while putting together the dough. But I don't know, just for fun, kind of compare and see how much better the homemade actually are. So this. Yes, I have Mama, which is my sourdough starter, and I also recently started a buttermilk culture. So this is my buttermilk, and that goes in last. So, okay, I'm going to start with 2 cups of flour. So here we go. Flour. Okay, and then I have baking powder. And sugar. And that's really going to help it brown on the top, especially. I'm going to brush this with buttermilk as well before it goes in the oven, but the sugar always helps it kind of caramelize a little bit and, of course, helps with flavor. I'm going to do a little bit of salt. Good. All right. Then going to, after I mix that together, I'm going to put in the butter and mix it together until it's kind of crumbly. So let me just whisk this. Nothing fancy yet. Nothing's going on, but just my dry ingredients. And it's 6 tablespoons of butter. So I'm going to kind of chop it up a little bit. You want your butter as cold as you can deal with it because that's what's going to, just like when we make the croissants, it kind of evaporates the water in the butter and makes it so that it puffs up really nicely. So I'm just going to throw these in different places so they don't stick together. Just the different little pats of butter. And then I'm going in with my hands. I'm going to mush it up. And I'm going to make a well in the center. Pour this in. And again, least amount of mixing possible. So I think I am going to have to, though, go with the 1.5 cups because this is not quite enough liquid. Before I get too far on the mixing, let me see. Yeah, maybe another 1/4 cup. Okay. Sure here. think that 1/4 cup is going to do it. All right, great. So I'm going to get the marble slab over here, and then we'll continue on with this. Okay, so I think I was a little bit too hasty with adding the extra buttermilk. I did need to add a little bit more flour because it is very wet dough. So I added a little bit more flour, and I have it on, let's see if I can, my marble slab here, and I just kind of patted it out. I didn't roll it. I didn't knead it at all. I just laid it out in kind of a rectangle. And I floured the bottom as little as I could, put a little bit on the top, and I have my bench scraper here. Stop. Stop. That's the timer for the biscuits in the can. So let me pull those out before I start cutting this. They could probably use a little bit longer. They puffed up decently well. Pretty good. But there's the top. I'm going to put them in for another few minutes because that top isn't nearly as brown as I'd like. Hey, Google, set a timer for 3 minutes. Okay. All right, so I have this pressed out. It's about an inch thick or so. And I'm just going to use, I have this cutter here and also something coming up, but this is a little bit bigger. It's not sharp, but I think I'll be able to maybe get a couple out of this. So let's try that too. So I'm going to take this and stretch it a little. Just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to try one. Wow. It's so pretty. Okay, and I have a silpat over here. I'm just going to lay them out. But I like to do experiments. So I'm going to do most of them in the big oven. It's at 450 degrees. And then I'm going to do a couple of them in the smaller oven. It's 10 minutes on the top of the oven and then 10 minutes on the bottom. This doesn't have much of a top and bottom. I'm going to lower the temp on it a bit, but just wanted to kind of see what would happen. Usually if I'm making breads, it's too hot, but the chef had said to use a convection oven. So I do not have that as a big oven, but this does have a convection setting. So just want to try it, see what happens. So I'm going to do a couple of these big ones. I like big biscuits. Right. So I'm only going to do 6 on here, so I'm going to spread them out a bit more than I normally would. 3, 4. And you can always use your bench scraper to pick these up. It's a great help. Right. You know what? I might just do all of them big. I think I have enough. Let's see. Yep, do a couple small. On this side, I'll do the small ones because I have this strip that I can cut these out of. And these are going to go onto different baking sheet. And I should not have set that on the hot oven because it has butter in it and it will melt. So I'm going to just put this up here. Get this one. So like I said, this is a pretty wet dough. Not sure what's going to happen with it quite, but we'll see. And I can always make them again. Stop. Let's see if that's any better. Yeah, there we go. All right, so the top looks much better. So these are the in a can ones, and I'm going to let them cool. And my hands are a little bit wet. which would not be good with this wet dough. Okay, do that. And I'm gonna take this, and I'm not gonna knead it together, I'm just gonna smush it together. Technical terms here, guys, technical terms. Okay. That. And just kind of cover up those seams, because hopefully it'll be rising, it'll be nice and flaky, so it won't really matter that much. I have a little bit of extra flour up here. I'll just kind of put over the top. And I need 2 more of the big ones to round out that baking sheet. Okay. And this one. Okay. And then I think I'm just going to kind of make a blob. Take this one, and I'm just going to kind of hand shape it. It won't be perfect, but I don't want to waste the dough. I mean, it's good, hopefully good dough, and there's no need to waste it, and you don't have to serve it. You can just munch on it. Or if you're making a jam or something like that, then you can taste test it with your lump of a biscuit. I'm gonna do bake. What should I do? It's gonna be a 20-minute bake. It's on convection. If I take it off convection, then I can see. All right, I'm gonna put it at 410 and then turn convection back on. It takes it down to 385 because the convection moves that hot air around, and it makes it the heat just basically envelop the whole thing that you're baking. So it turns the oven actually a lot hotter. Kind of if you think like in a hot tub, if you have the hot water and it feels nice and you turn on the bubbles and it feels hotter, it's moving all around you and circulating that heat. So that's kind of the same idea. Okay, so here's the buttermilk. And I'm not going to dilute it. I'm just going to brush it on. We have a rule in our house that if something is hot, you leave the pot holder or the thing with it so you know that it's hot. And you can be careful when you go to pick it up and test it before you burn yourself. All right, this is going on here. I'm gonna wait for that to say that the temp is ready on both ovens. Hi, okay, so just for funsies, I am going to try one more recipe from a chef on YouTube that my husband and I really love to watch. I will name him later if this goes well. I don't want to shame him because he's amazing. Okay, so I have 2 cups of flour. This one has salt, but it has baking powder and baking soda, so a little bit less baking powder. The other was 3 teaspoons, which is 1 tablespoon. This one is 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We'll have that. And I'm gonna do this again, whisk it together. And then the butter, and I'll do the same thing. I'll mix it in with my hands. This kind of went in as a clump of butter. That's why I usually kind of throw it in, but it is a tablespoon more butter than the other one. So I just kind of cut it really quickly and put it in the bowl. So go. And this one, he says to make it really fine, so you don't have to leave the huge chunks in there like we did with the other one. Those are in the oven right now, by the way, that other batch. So we'll see. It's looking interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. All right, this is about good. And then this one is only 3/4 of a cup. of buttermilk, but still buttermilk. I want to do the buttermilk biscuits because I do have that culture, so I want to be able to use it. All right, and so here's this. So it looks like little pebbles, kind of sand. Consistency is really fun and it's cool to play with. So probably didn't have to be doing it for this long, but just remember you don't want to play with it too much because you want the butter to still be very cold. All right, and buttermilk in the middle. And again, I'll be brushing the buttermilk on top. So this is how much buttermilk I have left after doing all of this right here. So I'm just gonna pour a little bit into here so I can brush it on top, and then I'll still have like the perfect amount to reculture. So I have it to about right here. I'll be able to reculture it. All right. Mix, mix, mix. This one's definitely drier. Let's see. All right. And I do want to check on these other ones really fast. Looking interesting. And you know what? I'm going to just turn it off and let it sit in there because it does retain heat very well since it's such a small space. And they're getting a little bit brown on the bottom, a little more than I'd like. It smells really good, but I don't want them to burn. So I'll just let it sit there for a minute. I will do this, and then we can do the next bit. Okay. Take them out and let them cool. Yeah, so this is definitely more of a dough you would expect, a little bit thicker, a lot thicker actually. Okay. All right, so here, fold it in thirds, and then turn it, fold it in thirds, gather up any crumbs that fall off of the edges, spread it out. And this is just doing these 1/3 folds, just kind of help incorporate everything together really well. All right, so do this and lightly flour. My hands are a mess now, so I have to be careful. You don't want to get anything into your flour container. But do that just really lightly. Put that there. All right. And I still have flour on my hands from spreading out the flour, so it's working really well for this. And this one I am going to push down. And it's supposed to make 12 biscuits, so I'm probably going to go with the smaller biscuits for this, just because I think that's more the size that he's doing. Brush off the excess flour. You don't want too much. You just don't want it to stick. All right. So I'll start with this, and then once you run out of room, then you can smush it back together. So I'm going to do one. All right, so that's a lot more what we're used to kind of with the texture, I think. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. Take this, smush it back together. I don't want to make it too thin. I want to keep it the same as much as I can because I want it to be able to cook at the same speed. Otherwise, you're going to have some that are doughy in the middle and some that are overcooked. 8, 9. Okay, so maybe he does them a little smaller than these. 9. do 10. We're going to get 10 out of this recipe, which I think is great. And this is the remnant. So if we want, we can make a little miniature one. So I'd rather have the same thickness than the same diameter. So I'm going to do about the same thickness, but it's going to be a little BB one. My kids will love it. Alright, so they're kind of a rough form, natural form. They didn't keep their circles completely, but I mean, they look pretty. This is definitely not what we had at the restaurant though. Alright, and here are the ones in the toaster oven. Like I said, the bottoms are getting very brown. It's nice, but it can get a little bit too much. Okay, it's really hot. I'm going to take this off of here. Now this part's gonna have to be done fast when I put these onto this because the baking sheet's already hot, so I don't want it to melt the butter that's in there. All right. Hot. Okay, I'm gonna stop being silly about this. So much easier. All right, so they have to cool. And these are gonna go in. I'm gonna do it this way. I'll hold it and brush it on and then set it on there so that it goes quickly. And it's supposed to be about an inch apart on the baking sheet. Have 2 more and then that little one. So 1, 2, and then the little guy here. Choose which side's the top. I guess this one. All right. So before they start to melt all over the place, I'm gonna put these in. Okay, so all 3 types have come out of the oven and cooled now. So this was the biscuit in a can. This was the one that we had spoken to the chef. Has that nice, really brown color. That's going to be the sugar that was in the dough because this one didn't have any sugar in it. And it still had the buttermilk on top, but the sugar really gives it that brown color. And this is the one from the online chef. So, okay. I'm open. I don't even have to cut that one. Wow. Okay. So this one, I don't really think of this as a biscuit texture too much. It's very like white bread kind of consistency. And you can see it's just kind of popping back. It's great like a sandwich bread kind of crumb in there, but it's not really biscuit to me. This one here, this one's a little more spongy. I think that's because of the buttermilk, but it's nice. I mean, it seems airy, not too dense, but it has an interesting texture to it. I'll show you right here. Texture. So it has some of that kind of layering, just a little bit. And then this one, I didn't even have to cut. It just pulled apart because it has that nice flakiness. You can see the layers. It's still a little bit warm, but it looks great. This has nice texture and consistency inside. All right, taste test. You want to try any, sweetie? All right. Start with the can. Yeah. It's what I would expect. It's fine. This again is the buttermilk version of the biscuits in a can. So it'll be nice to compare it to the other buttermilk biscuits. Yeah.
Chewy, not much flavor.
Yeah, kind of spongy. All right. Here is the one from the restaurant chef. It's a really good flavor.
Butter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can taste the butter. I want to try this bottom part here. Want to try this? Okay, that's really good. Actually, yeah, it just didn't rise up as much as I thought it was going to from what we had seen and had at the restaurant. But wow, it tastes really good.
It needs more leavening agent, but the flavor is nice. And you can feel like it wants to be crumbly.
Mm-hmm.
Flaky.
Okay. I'm just going to say, Chef John, you rock. Okay. There you go. By far. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So this is the winner. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the flavor is really good. This one had the sweetness because of the sugar that was in the dough. This one doesn't have the sweetness, but I think you can use it for more things because of that. Texture is just amazing. I mean, it just comes apart. It's great. So thank you for joining me for biscuits. 3 different biscuits. My husband was reaching in trying to catch one of the biscuits that was on the edge to take. Okay. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.